on with y'all? It's Jay Myrax on ultrawest.com. Back once again. Appreciate y'all for stopping by and hanging out with us for the next few hours, actually. We're going to be hanging out today. We got the music production podcast today. We'll be doing that for the next 60, 70 minutes or so, talking about the topic today. The topic today is music instrument store pet peeves. So we're going to be chopping it up about that. And then after the show, we will be doing the after show over on Twitch. So make sure you join us over there on Twitch as well for the after show. The after show is going to be a good time as well. So make sure that you hang out with us after this podcast as well over on Twitch. If you haven't already followed me there, go make sure you follow me there so you can hang out and be a part of the after show. All right, so we getting it cracking today. We're going to get started with the content in just a moment, but appreciate y'all for shouting me out in the chat. Make sure y'all hit the like button so that the show can be broadcast to the rest of the world and the rest of the internet fam out there that needs to take part of this conversation. Before we get started, I just want to send a special shout out to Upbeat Media, who is the moderator. Please check out the moderation in the chat. We run a nice clean show here, and we don't like a lot of problems and trouble and whatnot. We don't like a lot of the trolling. We like a good, healthy conversation. Debate is welcome, but be respectful as always, and let's stay on topic and make sure that we have a great time. Enjoy yourself in this conversation. But I'm excited to always have these conversations with y'all. I love chopping it up with y'all. It's always a good time. So I appreciate y'all that actively participate in these conversations and positively contribute to the conversation, because that's what makes this community special. That's what makes this community great, is that we all are positively communicating and providing information, thoughts, and feedback as part of the music producer community. So yeah, make sure you just follow what's going on in the chat from Upbeat Media. And yeah, I'm gonna say what's up to a couple of folks that's already in the chat. Lucrative Productions, respect, appreciate you for joining. DJ Cool Breeze, one of my members here, a true sound creator, West, yes sir. Get it gnarly, another member, a Studio 4K member at that. Appreciate you, man, West. Christopher Lamont, what's going on with you, fam? Mike Fresh Beats, what's going on with you? Let's see here. Robert Eames Jr., what's going on with you? Beats and Bikes, what's good with you? Let me take care of something real quick here. Let's see here. Hold on 1 second. Yes, sir. We're about to get it cracking in just a second. Right. Perfect. All right. What's going on with y'all? Appreciate y'all. Make sure y'all hit the like button. Make sure you share this if you can. We're going to have a good conversation. Let's see here. Yeah, so I'm excited to have this conversation, y'all. Appreciate y'all for being patient. But yeah, let me see here. Mike Fresh Beach, yes, sir. Let's see. Christopher Lamont from Harlem. Robert Eames Jr. What's going on with you? I think you gave him, yeah, one of my true sound creators. You giving me is that the NOLA sign? Make sure y'all hit the like button. Make sure y'all get this out there for me, for your boy. Appreciate the support. Mike Fresh Beats from ATL. Yes, sir. All right, man. So, how y'all doing out there? Hopefully your week is going well. Hopefully you're having a great time so far. It's a productive week for y'all. Y'all getting everything that y'all want to get accomplished this week done. As always, I appreciate y'all for hanging out. We do these podcasts every Thursday at 4 p.m. Central Time. So I appreciate y'all for hanging out for the next 60 to 70 minutes. And then also, if you want to have a little bit more conversation, we'll head over to the after show over on Twitch as well and have some good times, man. But always happy to have these conversations. Joe Fire, another true sound creator. What's good with you, fam? Appreciate you. Um, he said I'll put the compression on that like button for you. I appreciate you, man. Appreciate you. Um, yeah, man. Been a good week for me so far. Some of y'all may have seen did a live stream earlier this week with Busy Works Beats and his crew, and had a good conversation about music production, and it was a good time, and I appreciate those of y'all in the community that showed up and participated in that conversation and watched as well. And yeah, I think, like I said to my true sound creators, we're going to be doing more collaborations and things in the future. This is just the beginning, but I think it's important that there is more collaboration in this music producer space so that you guys can get much more diverse information, but also higher quality information. Because the more of us that are able to work together to create, I think you guys benefit in the end because we don't divide your time as much, and we can collaborate and build bigger and more powerful presentations and content that is more aligned ultimately with what you guys are looking to get out of this YouTube space. So more of that to come. So yeah, shout out to Busy Works Beats for having me on this platform. But yeah, if you're interested in just keeping up with us, make sure you follow here. Also, you make sure you follow me on Twitch. Upbeat Media will put a link in the chat if you want to follow my Twitch channel as well, because we're gonna be doing other types of content and stuff on there as well. Um, but yeah, this music instruments topic, music instrument store topic is always an interesting topic. I've mentioned it to some degree at certain points on this channel, but I wanted to really just go in and really talk about it fully today because I think it's a very interesting topic as far as the current state of music instrument stores. It's very for some of us that are of a certain age, it definitely brings back some memories, and also definitely kind of can bring some levels of frustration and disappointment. So I want to talk about that today. And yeah, I was trying to get the fan base working today. For whatever reason, that wasn't working. I wanted to hear back from you guys. So I'll just take I would love to hear your experiences, your pet peeves with music instrument retail stores in the chat. So if you guys want to let me know what are some of the pet peeves that you have with music instrument retail stores today? What are some of the pet peeves you have? We're going to talk about that. I'd love to hear back from you guys. I'm going to go through some things and kind of talk about that a bit today, and we're going to look at some common things that are happening in the space as well. And maybe we can maybe rethink and come up with some solutions and some things that can be done to improve the state of affairs. But yeah, music music producers, musicians in general of a certain age definitely can recall their experiences that they had as a youth with music instrument retail stores. Stores like, Guitar Center, of course, Sam Ash. And I mean, there's a ton of like local retailers that everybody can recall. Like everybody has their favorite local retailer that they used to go to that wasn't maybe a national retailer, but had all the great stuff. And it was just a great time. Music instrument retail stores used to essentially be like a Toys R Us for musicians. And it was full of inspiring instruments and equipment that you could play with for hours upon hours without issue. I mean, for hours. You going. It used to be an event. You go out and you go. It used to be so fun. Like say, oh, we're gonna go to Guitar Center. We're gonna go to Sam Ash and just look at the stuff and play with stuff and just have an experience for hours at a time with the gear. Those of us that are older definitely can relate to that experience because that was how music instrument stores used to operate. They used to just be very much a world of their own that if if you were interested in music at all, instruments, drums, guitars, keyboards, percussion, horns, strings, whatever, you can go to your local music instrument store and have a field day. It was an amazing time. The staff at your music retailers also used to be among some of the most passionate and well educated people that you could meet in the space. You would often meet people that they were sales associates, sales reps, but they were also active musicians. They were also active music producers and engineers. And many of them may have gone to university or some sort of some sort of university of higher education, SAE or whatever, and they studied music or they went to Berkeley and also were working at Guitar Center. So they were very well educated and immersed in the area or domain of music production, sound production, uh, live shows, whatever you name it. Like everybody that used to work at these stores used to be very well educated. And they were just very well informed about the areas that they worked in. So you go into the guitar area, the guitar guys knew their stuff. They can tell you about what year this was made, what kind of wood this had, what kind of, strings, are optimized for this. You go into, pro audio, they could tell you, all the ins and outs of different studios that they've helped design, and they could give you all the information on what you needed to have as far as building your studio. Here's the monitors I recommend. Here's the monitors I recommended for this studio over here. If you're in this price range, you can do this. The guys had the knowledge because they were actively working in the space. And many of them had their own studios and their own equipment, so they can tell you from their own experiences. Like, hey, I've used this. I will recommend this one because I've used that, right? It was a place where you could experience gear, you can experience instruments, and be informed and advised by people that were very passionate. Music stores used to carry a broad set of gear for all skill levels. That's how it used to be. It was very broad. It wasn't just all pro audio, and it definitely wasn't all just entry level or consumer. You could find an entry level keyboard at a retail store, but you also had the opportunity to play with and explore a top of the line keyboard and get inspired to save your money and acquire that top of the line keyboard one day in the future. Or if you couldn't even get the top of the line one, you might be like, okay, here's where I'm at, but there's definitely like a mid-range one that I'm gonna save my money for. And then hopefully if I really can get my skills and my bread up, I'm gonna get this high-end one at some point. And you had those levels. You had those levels that you could see. So it was a broad set of gear. It wasn't all just one-sided. Today, music retail stores are a shell of their former selves. Many larger stores have closed down across the country. I've seen that firsthand. We had stores when I was in LA. Some of the stores that were near me, like the Sam Ash that was near me, closed, and then one of the major guitar centers that was in pretty close proximity to me in Sherman Oaks, it didn't close, but it got flooded out, and they didn't reopen. So we basically got stuck with not really having any premium guitar centers, and all the other guitar centers and other music stores that were close by were very small, like the scaled down ones. I'm sure some of you guys may have experienced that, where you have like the premier Guitar Center, and then you have like a scaled back version of it where it's just like, oh, we got some guitars, and you might be able to go to Pro Audio and get a MIDI controller, or you might be able to go and get, whatever the lowest end speaker is, monitor is, or something like that, but it doesn't have the full scope of gear. So the ones that are left are kind of the scaled back versions. So many of the larger ones are gone, and then the merchandising. Sam Ash has closed down. Sam Ash is done now. So that's unfortunate. Sam Ash is done. But even if you go in Guitar Center now or some of the other local retail stores, it's just like the merchandising. The merchandising has changed. And the merchandising is largely geared towards the entry-level musician today. That's the strategy that's currently being used. It's like, let's do what appeals to the entry-level person that doesn't have a lot of money or a lot of experience, and they just want to come in and get something that allows them to start making music or playing music. So the merchandising is just not at a level where it used to be. It used to be super broad and inspiring, and now it's all entry level. So you often go into a store now, and the reality is a lot of stuff is not even connected. And I think that's one of the most irritating parts, right? That's a pet peeve for me. You go into a store now, and the stuff isn't even connected. It's like, what are we doing? Like, what are we really doing here? You go into a music store to be able to get hands-on, a tactile demo of the gear, only for it to basically just be a shelf queen that you can look at and say, oh, cool. Hopefully you looked on YouTube already before you came in here, right? So now I have to get the familiarity with the device via YouTube, as opposed to being able to go hands-on and get a real world experience, because you decided that it is too much effort to connect all this stuff. We don't want to connect it to power. We don't want to connect it to speakers. So that's a big pet peeve of mine. You go in there and the stuff is not even connected. We've also seen a decline in the dedicated installations from manufacturers. Like the manufacturers of different hardware used to have their own section inside a Guitar Center where they worked to keep it merchandised and installed a certain way, because they really cared about the presentation of their gear within the Guitar Center or any other retail stores. So there were product specialists and product reps that would go out to the stores from these different manufacturers and set up the gear and set up the installation to make it look a certain way. And that also contributed to the overall vibe of the retailer, because it's like you had these installations where there was a certain experience that the manufacturer wanted to provide. So you would go in there and it was just all hooked up because that product specialist was there making sure all of the stuff was working and doing exactly what they wanted and giving the public the experience that they wanted them to have when they had a interaction in real life. That's gone. A lot of the manufacturers aren't doing that anymore. They're not going in there and investing in having an installation inside the space. They're not doing all of that at all, because they're prioritizing things like direct to consumer sales, and they're also providing a much more detailed or deeper experience through things like their influencer marketing channels and whatnot. They're working with people on YouTube and other spaces to provide access and provide the insights on the gear now. So they're spending less money on the retail side because they believe that maybe there's just a quicker way to the consumer via the influencers and content creators. This is also a it's just a pet peeve of mine, but I think today one of the big issues with the music stores is stock. They just don't have stock. And it makes it more of a setup for a letdown when you go to a music retail store today. Because you go out, and don't let my wife hear this, but one of the things that you would want to, one of the excuses to go to Guitar Center is like, I need to get some cables. I need some cables. I need some new cables for my MPC. So let me go over to Guitar Center real quick and see what they got on them cables. I'm just teasing. My wife is into the music stuff too, so she used to enjoy going to Guitar Center too. But you go out to try to get some cables today, and even stuff like that, bread and butter stuff like cables, it's so limited. They don't have all the variety of cables anymore. I've gone looking for things like ADAT cables, for example. Once you get a studio of a certain size, or if you dealing with certain gear, you're gonna need some optical cables, some ADAT cables. And guess what? Oh, we don't have those. You don't have ADAT cables? No, we don't have those. But another pet peeve, what do they say? Oh, we can order it for you and have it sent to the store. You can order it for me and have it sent to the store? Sir, I can order it for myself and have it sent to my house now. Have you ever heard of Amazon? Heck, have you ever heard of Sweetwater? I can order it myself and have it sent here. Why? Why would I come here, come to your brick and mortar to order something and then have it shipped here? So then I have to make another trip to come get the gear. Now, listen, I understand that some cases it might be okay to have something shipped to the store, especially if you're not going to be available to sign off for an expensive piece of gear at your home and you don't want to risk having to go back to like a FedEx or UPS or something like that to get it, then yeah, it can make sense in some cases. Get at Nard, appreciate the super chat. He says they can't compete with Sweetwater on customer service. Zounds and AMS has the easy pay. Amazon gets you the gear next day. Yeah, buddy. Yeah, buddy. That's where we are. The competition is steep. The competition is steep for these music retailers today. So the fact that they'll tell you, oh, we can order it for you, like, hello, I can order it for myself and it can be sent to me, depending on what level we're talking about. Like, I mean, cables now, I can get cables next day from Amazon. Like, for real. I don't have to leave anywhere. I can get it next day from Amazon. Why would I order from Guitar Center? Why would I drive however many minutes it takes to get to Guitar Center for you to tell me you can order it for me? I think that's quite ridiculous at this point. Big pet peeve of mine. Of course, another pet peeve of mine is, I'm a keyboard and drum machine guy. You ever go to the keyboard section today, and the keyboard section is just like 90% of the keyboards are not connected. Like 90% of them. At best, in most cases, and I think this is just because of who they are and their the amount of resources they have. But the only one that you really see connected still is that Yamaha Montage. Like, Yamaha is still on their stuff, and they still make sure, yeah, you better have our Montage in its own section with its own key or with its own speakers. Yeah, put our HS8s on that, by the way, put our speakers on it. And then, yeah, that's the montage setup. And you can go play the montage. But everything else, sorry for you. You better know what that sounds like already. You better know what that sounds like if you're coming in here, because it's not hooked up and we are not hooking it up for you. Super pet peeve of mine. Another pet peeve of mine is there's no longer the concept of like the studio room in like a Guitar Center, for example, where back in the day, they used to have the actual studio room where it was outfitted like a music recording studio. It was isolated. You come in there, you close the door behind you. It had monitor speakers that you can, AB. It had different outboard gear and whatnot, like higher end stuff, and you can listen to stuff and look at stuff. And it was an experience in itself. A lot of the retailers don't have that anymore. And if they do have it, it's a much more scaled back version. They may have that little room still, but it's just full of like entry level monitors at this point. And in some cases, I've been in some Guitar Centers that don't even have their monitors set up in isolation. So it's just in a corner somewhere, and you can AB it still, but it's not a controlled environment to listen to sound. So it's just really doing a disservice to anyone that actually wants to hear the monitors at that point, because now you're fighting with all the other, the drums, the drum rooms are still, well, not drum rooms, but the drum sections are still there, and people come there and bang out on that. And then, of course, guitars and basses always are popping, and people are always running pentatonic riffs on their guitars, and you're going to hear pentatonic riff after pentatonic riff while you're trying to listen to your monitor speakers. So that's a thing. But yeah, the studio is no longer there so that you can like get that isolation and really look at that high-end gear. So it just the days of the whole experience around a music store, it's lacking today. It's lacking today. And one of the things I was gonna do was go through some of the pet peeves before we get to the chat and whatnot. I was just gonna show some of the pet peeves that people have, which is pretty funny because it kind of confirms a lot of the stuff I even said. But there's other things as well. So let me get to that because I think it's hilarious. And I think we talk about this, and honestly, most of us just would love to see a return back to the glory days where it actually had all of that stuff, like actually did everything that we were really trying to do at the Guitar Center or whatever we're talking about here. We all wanted to return back to that, but I think the reality is things are much different today. Things are so much different that it's just hard to conceive that they will ever make a return back to that. But let's look at some of this. Let me get into let's go studio mode here. All right, and then we're gonna go here. There we go. Boom. So funny stuff here. Yeah, so just read a couple of these. It said, aside from a salesman not being able to hand you a guitar without doing some blues pentatonic scale riffing, I say the thing I can't stand the most is how a music store environment forces anyone who touches a bass to play slap bass on it. What are your pet peeves in a music store? So we're going to go through the list here and go through a couple of these. Let's see. One person says, when I'm trying to test out an instrument and I can feel the staff judging my musical ability, when that happens, I usually play Mary Had a Little Lamb or Happy Birthday. That's interesting. Let's see here. Go to a couple ones. Okay. Let's see here. The attitude of some shop owners that you can only play a guitar if you have the money right now and are going to buy it. I understand that you don't want people jamming and not buying anything for hours, but there's a limit. I intentionally avoid shops completely, even for strings and picks, because of how rude they've been, even refusing me playing on something because I didn't look like I was going to buy it. Sometimes I go to play something different to what I own. I may not have the money right now, but I could be talked into coming back for something next week. That's pretty interesting, right? Like the idea should be that you are allowed to be able to test things that you're interested in aspiring to buy. You don't have to have the money immediately, but just the whole, I aspire to get that at a certain point. I think that's part of the process. You don't always have the money to buy the high end thing immediately, but you should be able to get inspired by this interaction so that one day you will put your money up because you know that's the thing that you wanted because you played with it and you had an experience with it. And a lot of these retailers need to remember that that's a thing. Like you shouldn't just deny people of the ability to get to that point. Um, go to a couple more and then we go to the chat here. I want to hear back from you guys as well. Um, let's see here. Okay, every guitar is out of tune. That's unfortunate, right? Like, well, you go to a guitar center and want to play guitar, and it's like immediately I have to do all the work to get this to even be able to start playing with it. Another one, uh, not allowing you to play a pedal or plug in an electric guitar. Now that's crazy because like how could you even know that you for sure want a pedal if you haven't had an opportunity to test it and play with it on your own, right? Like that in itself is that's a unfortunate setup for these music retailers where basically now they're saying, okay, we're not going to have anything hooked up and it's not going to be set up for you guys to be able to even test the stuff. And we're not going to even contribute to your ability to get a feeling for whether or not you want to use it. So those are a couple of things. I want to hear back from you guys. I'm gonna go to the chat and see um, what you guys are talking about. I'm gonna go in reverse order and go from there. And of course, if you have questions or you want to say something and jump the line, of course, you can always super chat and I will get to that first. But Joe Fire, what's going on with you? He says, my pet peeve is you seen it in stock, get there and they tell you they're out of the unit. Yeah, that is crazy talk. That's crazy work. Um, Room at the Top Studios, another true sound creator, says, I learned to play the ARP Odyssey in the shop. I played it for 6 months. By the time I got home, I knew how to use it. See, that was like really one of the things about the music store was that you could really learn how to use an instrument to a degree and be very sure that you wanted it. That was my experience with the MPC 2000 XL because I went to Guitar Center. I had a buddy take me to Guitar Center when I was in college, and he was telling me about the MPC, and I didn't know anything about it really at that time. And he was like, "Dude, you gotta play this." And he was telling me about the 3000. It's like the 3000, like that's the holy grail. You got to have that for hip hop production, like you're trying to do. And he was on my head about that. And we went to Guitar Center, and they didn't have a 3000. They had the 2000 XL. And he was like, "Oh, they got the MPC 2000 XL. What's this?" And we started looking at that, and he started showing me just basic stuff because I didn't know anything about it at all, really. And he showed me how to sequence. And I was already making music with FL Studio, not FLs. I was making music with Fruity Loops and Cakewalk Pro 8. Deluxe. So I was making music with that, and the MIDI was terrible. It was completely horrible. And I knew I wanted something that was more stable and just better. And we got in that Guitar Center and started playing with the MPC 2000 XL, started sequencing drum patterns and whatnot. And once he showed me how to do that, I sat there for like 2 hours, just like going through that device, playing with it and making patterns. And, you know, I was probably a year and a half into really making music at that time. So, of course, it was like not good. It was not good, but it gave me, as a amateur, basically an opportunity to learn the device and fall in love with the device. And after those hours at Guitar Center, after that experience of like playing with that device and seeing how powerful it was and how stable it was and all that, I knew at that point that that is what I needed to go to the next level in my music production. So I made it a goal, like, I am definitely getting that device. So then that took me down that whole path of, okay, how can I get it? Like making a decision on, okay, well, that thing is like $2,000. I'm a broke college student right now. What can I do? And I figured it out. I've told this story before. I used combination of student loan and um, Guitar Center card, and we made it happen. And the rest is history. But I guarantee you one thing, that wouldn't have happened if I wasn't able to go to Guitar Center and play with the device. That just wasn't going to happen because around that era, I was very much, I wanted to buy music equipment at that time. And there was a lot of being in LA, there's tons, like LA used to be such a great place for finding used gear, especially in pawn shops. It was an amazing place. There was a lot of stuff. As people got rid of their home studio stuff and big studios would sell stuff, there was so much stuff there. And I would go to pawn shops to see stuff all the time, and I just didn't know enough about what was there. But I guarantee you that I wasn't going to spend any money on something that I didn't have the opportunity to play with, and a pawn shop wasn't the right place. If you go into a pawn shop, if you are, I think Room at the Top Studios called it something else. I think they got a different name for it in the UK. I forgot which one you said, but yeah, the pawn shop basically. You go to the pawn shop, that stuff is not connected for you to play it. Like it's not a music store, so you can't really vibe out with it. Um, but Guitar Center and other music retailers, brick and mortar retailers, they're set up for that. They used to be set up for that, so you can actually have an experience and learn whether or not that's the right piece of equipment for you. And it's sad to see that those days are behind us now. Let's see. Upbeat Media says most hobby shops are like this. Yeah, it's true. A lot of hobby shops are in decline. Mac Avery said it's cash converters. Exactly. That was the word I was looking for. Appreciate you. Cash converters. Yes, sir. Yeah. It's unfortunate though. A lot of the hobby shops are just not prepared for giving people an experience and the ability to fall in love with the devices anymore. Let me see here. Room at the Top Studio says, I was allowed to play on the synths for as long as I like because if I like it, I'll eventually buy it. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Let's see what else we got in here. Uh, okay. Let me look at it on the YouTube studio. For whatever reason, it's giving me a hard time over here. Okay, I see what you're saying. I got you. I got you. You said my okay. I see the whole context now. Thank you. Um, and shout out to Room at the Top Studios, one of my true sound creators. My local music instrument store went bankrupt last month. PMT in the UK. I could cry. I spent many afternoons trying out synths in there. They would let me because they knew if I liked it, I would buy it. Yeah, exactly, exactly. Mac Average says back in the day, it was people playing beginning of Stairway to Heaven on the guitar. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, for sure. That was one of them. William Ellington, another true sound creator, shout out to you. He says some of the best memories was playing on everything and picking up pamphlets from Roland, Yamaha, etc. I was hyped every time. Yeah, yeah. It was an amazing time for sure. William Oates says the DAW killed the music store. That's an interesting thought, man. That's an interesting thought. I don't know that I fully agree with that, and I'll tell you why. I can see why you would say that, but I don't fully agree with that because I think with any type of retail store, over time, taste will evolve, and you kind of have to pivot in ways that are aligned with the new taste and new trends that are occurring within a certain space. I remember back in the day when Big Fish Audio used to have its own installation where they had a CD player or some type of, CD changer or something where you could listen and demo all of their sample CDs at Guitar Center. This was an installation that they made that made it very easy for you to decide whether or not you needed a certain sample CD. So there was a very strategic merchandising that was occurring from these music manufacturers and um, developers, sound developers, even sound content. And logically today, you can go listen to a sample library on somebody's website, but back in the day, you may not have had the bandwidth to be able to listen to a sample library in high quality on the internet. You know, shout out to those that were on uh, 14.4 and 28.8 modems back in the day that um, used to have to uh, shut the whole house down for phone calls to be able to get on the internet. And then when you get on the internet, you can listen to music on real audio media format if somebody had a sample or something on a website. And of course, things progress from there. But back in the day, back in the heydays of a Big Fish Audio, even, yeah, like you weren't going to get the full experience of their products from going to a website. So that installation in the retail store was super important. Today, everybody has the ability to put a website together, put demos, audio demos of their stuff on a website, or even more so, you can have a website just for the retail part, so you can sell direct to consumer, but then you can put the demos of your product on SoundCloud and even YouTube. You don't need Guitar Center and an installation that you got to pay money to maintain, and you got to pay a product specialist to maintain that. You don't need all of that anymore. You can literally just set up your website, set up an e-commerce site, set up a YouTube channel and a SoundCloud profile, and put your samples up there and host them right there, and people can hear and make a decision on what they want right there. I would say the internet and the accessibility of the internet and how the technology to access the internet and bandwidth and speeds and whatnot has that has transformed how we can shop in general. And because you can put more information, you can provide more samples and demonstrations of any product. It makes it very difficult now to justify paying another staff or employee to go out to all your retail stores and make sure that all your installations and whatnot are set up correct and everything's working, and investing in other equipment. And because the installations are not provided by a Guitar Center, that you got to bring your own equipment and set it all up there if you're a manufacturer. So that's not free, and to have to do that for every store costs a lot of money. So now a manufacturer has to decide, well, I can really maximize the output here and the access by just having it on a website and going to YouTube and other places and using influencers and other things to talk about this product, as opposed to doing it this old school way where it's a physical thing. So I would say the internet has largely changed this whole music instrument retail store. And I think also a lot of music instrument retail stores haven't fully pivoted to meet the demands of people that are in the space looking to um, make media at this point. I think there might be an overemphasis in the audio and music part now, and it needs to broaden out and look at the intersection between audio and general media production at this point. And having a balance of things, like having the traditional instruments, having traditional, keyboards, drum machines, drums, guitars, basses, percussion, right? But then also having like legitimate, say, podcast stuff. Like, one of the things I started noticing is like everybody that's doing video and streaming these days why everybody got a SM7B and DT770 headphones and all this other like stuff that used to be kind of higher end music gear, right? Like DT770s are not cheap headphones compared to what I used to rock when I was young. I used to rock little Sony earbuds and whatnot, and definitely a SM7B is not a cheap microphone. Like, my first microphone was a Shure PG58. That wasn't like a super expensive microphone. But today, you got a lot of people buying music and audio related stuff that are not necessarily just making music. And I think it's important to realize that and expand. And if you look at a place like Guitar, or not Guitar Center, like Sweetwater. Sweetwater kind of gets it. Let me go back to Sweetwater for a second. I think Sweetwater gets it more than a lot of other places. But let's go back to the Sweetwater site real quick. I think Sweetwater gets it, and if you pay attention, look at what they're showing right now on Sweetwater. Sweetwater's like cameras and creator sale, right? So then, like, they're already like, hey, we know we're a music retailer, but people are doing more than just media, or more than just audio now. They're doing media. So Sweetwater said, shh, why should we make it more difficult if we just need to start stocking a little bit more stuff that give people a full suite of tools to create audio, video, and ultimately media and content? Why not do that? So they got really smart and started selling camera and video equipment and whatnot. And if you look at the categories here, they have a category called content creators. right? They have a whole category called content creators because they know that this domain of media is it's much more broad than music recording today. It's much bigger than that. So now that they have this content creators category, yeah, you got the cameras and creator stuff, podcasting, live streaming, video creation, all these different categories now, along with the traditional instruments and whatnot, traditional recording equipment. And I think this is what's separating them and positioning them for more long-term success is the fact that they recognize that the market has shifted and it has expanded. And I think a lot of retailers that don't understand this are going to die. And you see, look, they working with content creators, Colt Caparone, right? You know, you guys, I'm sure you guys watch, some of you guys watch him on YouTube and see who that Mike Cole, like, yeah, definitely. You guys are watching some of these people. So they're working with guys and girls or ladies and whatnot that are part of this YouTube community as well. And I think the integration and the strategy they're using and the type of merchandise they're providing, and they get it. And I think that's why they are going to survive, because you don't just go to Sweetwater now for just music gear. You go to Sweetwater because you are interested in creating media, and they have all the things necessary for you to be able to create any type of media you want, whether that's audio media, video media, or whatever else. So I think they are a great example of like how to pivot in this time. And a lot of the other stores, they just kind of got stuck in their ways. Like, hey, we just got guitars, basses, drums, and keyboards, and that's it. And Guitar Center is largely still in that shape as well. They're still in that state. They got a little bit of podcasting stuff, but I think they haven't really accepted the fact that even if you are a musician today, you still need to be seen in order to be heard. Now, we talk about this on this channel all the time. People will see you first today before they hear you, because you don't have a place to just actively just get ears on your music like immediately. Like, of course, you can go through digital distribution and whatnot, and you can go, go upload your stuff via a DistroKid or something like that, and have it on all the streaming platforms, and then be on Spotify and Tidal and Apple Music and all that stuff. You can do that, but realistically, you still have to promote it. And social media has become a big part of how musicians promote themselves. So this whole being seen first before you're heard is a major factor. And I think those companies that understand that will have a better chance of surviving, as opposed to just being stuck in your ways and saying, hey, I just want to focus on this music stuff and the music gear, because that's where we're rooted in. That's our foundation, and that's what we love. Like, yes, we all love that, but times have changed. So we got about 50 people in here. Please, y'all, make sure y'all hit that like button, man. And if you're watching this and you're watching this channel for the first time, appreciate you for joining. Make sure you subscribe here. We do these podcasts every Thursday at 4 p.m. Central Time. And we'll be doing this for maybe the next 20 minutes. And then we're going to head on over to Twitch for the after show. And the after show is where we're going to do a little bit more conversation and have a little bit more fun over there. So make sure that you stay tuned and check us out on the after show on Twitch. So we're going to be doing that directly after this. We'll start at the after show on Twitch at 6 p.m. Central Time. And we do those on Thursdays. So appreciate y'all for hanging out with your boy. But make sure y'all hit that like button, man, and share this with a friend. Share this with a friend. So, and yeah, check the if you check the chat, Upbeat Media will put a link to the after show and where that's going to be, so you can make sure that you're included in that, because that's going to be a good time. Always a good time. Going back to the chat, appreciate y'all. Like, man, y'all said a lot in here, so I appreciate y'all, man. This is always great to read and see people's experiences and whatnot. But yeah, William, I think the internet is really more the William Oates, or yeah, William Oates. I think the internet is more not at fault, but it is a contributing factor to the death of these retailers, because things have changed just so much, and I think a lot of retailers didn't pivot and understand the new experiences that they needed to provide, the new types of gear that they needed to have, and just pivot towards things that are more aligned with how people are making music today. Because even like with the dolls, I think the dolls could have been a thing where there was just more emphasis on the studio rooms and providing people with access to different studio setups, and seeing how you can set up a a low end setup and a mid range setup and a high end setup, and having that experience in the store with the different levels of gear would give people a good context for how they can set up a DAW based environment at different price points. That's just another example of things that they could have done that they really didn't do in a lot of these stores. But then considering now, like, hey, here's how you can set up a streaming setup that includes music production gear, right? That's another thing. It's like, what if you had a specific room where it's like, hey, here's a perfect setup where you got your lights, you got your cameras, you got your your roadcaster, whatever your audio mixer is that you're going to use, and then you got all these other pieces, like here's your main audio interface and your keyboard, and all, like, have a real setup where people can see that's what I need in order to do this next level of thing I want to do as a music creator. That's not happening there. So it's a lot of strategy that's missing, a lot of just a lack of vision, and really maybe just a lack of guidance ultimately, that is also killing some of these retail stores. Christopher Lamont says, "Hey Jay, is it true that Akai stopped selling MPC?" I'm not sure if that's true. I'm really not. That's a good question. I don't think that that's the case. I think maybe certain products are starting to be phased out, which is natural considering the production cycle and where we're at with certain gear, right? You can't get an MPC X anymore, like a regular MPC X on Sweetwater. So certain things are no longer there. Let me see, MPC Keys 37. I believe you still can get that. They still have that in stock. MPC One Plus still in stock at Sweetwater at least. But like the XSE, or not the XSE, the X, it's what are we 7-8 years into that product now? It's about time for them to phase it out. I think that's reasonable. You've had 8 years or 7 years of this product. I mean, I don't know how much longer you expect to be on that version at this point. Because I remember I did a live stream about the XSC, or the X, not the XSC, the X, like 2017, 2018. So yeah, we're well overdue for like a real new version. I think the 2000 XL came out in like 99, 2000. And basically by the time we got to 2005, 2006, there was a successor in that price range, right? 2500. 2002 we got the 4000. So that was not, I wouldn't say that's the successor. That's like that's a flagship that came out after the 2000 XL. But if we realistically look at it, the 2000 XL was probably around for like 5-6 years before they came out with a new version, essentially, which is the 2500. So 7 years in, it's like they stretched it. Like I think that XSE was them stretching it. Like that was them milking it. Like that's the last little bit of this product we can get without having to come out with a brand new product. So I think it's time. I think it's time for them to come with something new. I don't think they've exhausted everything with some of these products yet. But yeah, I could see them moving in a direction where that stuff is going to go. Let's see here. Just going back to the chat here. Let's see. Mac Average says around 2013, 2016, I got so many smoking deals for gear at pawn shops. It was mind blowing. Good times. Absolutely. That was great times. That's another thing. And we're going to do a whole stream about that. But I think the whole resale thing has really killed a lot of the culture around gear collecting and also just music production in general, like the exploration and access to gear, like the whole reseller thing. That's a whole rabbit hole that we need to unpack and really talk about that, because I think it has had a lot of impact on what people are doing and the behaviors that we're seeing within this music production domain. So resellers in general, like that's a whole thing, right? Like if you're a sneakerhead, you already know, like the sneaker game got real funky for some years because of the whole reseller thing. And it's the same way with music production. Everybody found out what the grails are, and you find out what the grails are, and then everybody that had some disposable income that could put money into the resale game just bought up all the grails, and they're hogging them somewhere in some storage unit or at the house, hoping that some sucker decides they're going to pay $7,000 now for a SP1200. No, thank you. But we'll that's a whole different stream, and we'll do that at a later date. Rare 1971 was good. What you said. What up? I see that we're Ski SP1200 brothers. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Shout out to EA Ski for not charging us $7,000 for SP1200. G-Ball, what's good with you? Another True Sound creator says, Keyboard Magazine, Electronic Musician Magazine. I'd read about a piece of gear for hours, then go to GC. So much fun. Absolutely. That, and then even like, hold on one second. I'm going to show you something. This will be a blast from the past. Hold on. All right. So check this out, man. You know, you used to have these things right here. Yeah, y'all remember these? Y'all remember these? Oh yeah. Y'all remember that? Magazines, man. You know, Scratch Magazine. You know, like it used to be, you open one of these joints up. Number one, you used to be reading about what some of your favorite producers were using. But then you would also see the new gear. Like you open this up and it's like, look at this. Rolling Groove box. Which one is that? That's the MC808, you know. Or let me see what else they had in this one. Core with the little MIDI controllers here. You know. What else? Let's see here. Yeah, this is the era when M Audio was trying to make their stand, little, little entry level microphone, first page. That's a big deal for them, trying to make their mark. Back of the book, we got the Yamaha stuff. I worked on some of this stuff here, like these Yamaha keyboards. I think yeah, I did demos for like the Mo 6 and stuff like that, like the built-in demos back in the day. Yeah, yeah. I mean, so much history here. So many great stories and great things. Like, I was sleeping at this time. I didn't know who these cats were. Any of y'all know who these cats are? Some of my favorite musicians today. But back when I read this, I didn't really understand the magnitude of those guys. Sarah Creative Partners, some of my favorites, and looking at their story and the gear that they have and their emphasis on the classic hardware at that time. Just being able to look at that stuff and get inspired and listen to the music that they're doing, and then say, "Oh, I got to get that." The magazines were super important. The magazines were super important. Yeah, that's Sour Rock Creative Partners. If you ain't hip to them, boy, oh boy, I promise you. I promise you. We actually, if you ain't hip to them in the after show, we gonna listen to some Sour Rock. If you ain't hip to Sour Rock, man, oh my God. oh, oh my God. If you ain't hip to Sour Rock, I need to put y'all up on game. I need to put y'all up on game. You've heard them before because Kanye West was like very much inspired by them, especially in that era. He was kind of toting them as like the future of music. And yeah, they have played a hand in many projects, including I think one of the big ones that a lot of people know of that they are a part of is the Frank Ocean records. A lot of the Frank Ocean records were produced by Omas Keith from Sarah. And then you got like Erica Badu and the New America stuff. That's that Sarah influence. And then, of course, one of my favorite hip hop records that came out in the past decade, or not, no, yeah, we're just at a decade now. Um, to Pimp a Butterfly by Kendrick Lamar. That's that Sarah vibe. I don't care what nobody say. I mean, they worked on it, like Taz Arnold worked on To Pimp a Butterfly, but between Terrace Martin and the influence of a Sarah, that's how you get to Pimp a Butterfly. So anyhow, we're gonna talk about that more in the after show. Make sure y'all come over to Twitch. We gonna talk about that and other stuff. That's what the after show is about. We talk music. We talk about the gear and stuff as well. But it's we gonna vibe out over there over on Twitch. So make sure y'all head over to Twitch after this. We gonna get that cracking at 6 p.m. Central Time. It'll be a good time. Good time. But yeah, Scratch Magazine, man, that used to be like one of the things. Like, of course, Future Music Magazine, Keyboard Magazine, all of that stuff used to contribute to the desire to go to the music retail and actually start to play with that stuff, because you would read it in the magazine, you'd see one of your favorite musicians talking about the stuff, and then you would go and be like, okay, I gotta go to the store and play with that now and see how that sounds. And it was an amazing time, amazing experience, and it all was an ecosystem. And today, yes, the YouTuber has become your entryway into that world. That's a fact. That's just where we are. Like, the content creator, the person that the music manufacturers are giving that gear to before it comes out and letting them kind of figure out how they want to present it. That has become your entryway into learning about a lot of the gear and experiencing the gear through a a persona or avatar that looks like you. So we all get online and pick the people that we believe kind of represents our style, our taste and interest in this music domain the most. And we say, that's our guy, and then we're gonna watch them, or that's our girl, and we're gonna watch her, and we're gonna figure out what we like and what we're interested in based upon that avatar or that persona that we see on YouTube. And I think that has also changed the way that music retailers have to work now, because we are experiencing a lot of the gear by proxy now instead of in person. Let me see what else we got in here. Room at the Top Studio says, you enjoyed yourself in the Guitar Center that afternoon. Those are really the days. I'm sad to see my local store go. Yeah, you definitely enjoyed yourself then. Let me see here. Upbeat Media said 18 months, no interest, talking about Guitar Center. Definitely had my time with those 18 months, no interest. I mean, people used to ask, like back in the day, I get certain questions from people still. How'd you get all that gear? How'd you get all that gear, man? Like, well, first of all, um, you know, save your money for stuff you want, right? First and foremost, save your money for stuff you want. Secondly, if you're doing music production and you are being paid for it, it's always great to reinvest your money into the thing that you're getting paid for. So anytime I would sell a beat, sell a demo, do some type of consultation for, a music tech company or whatever, I would take that money and reinvest. I wouldn't go out and blow it on vacations, going to the club, alcohol, nothing like that. Nothing like that. That wasn't my thing. I wasn't going to blow it on some sneakers and gear or Gucci, Louis. I don't wear none of that. I don't wear any of that. So it wasn't going to get blown on that. If I was going to get geared up, it was going to be studio gear. My dream was to have a certain type of studio, not to have certain type of fit on my back and my feet. I didn't care about that. I didn't care about that at all. So I would invest into the gear that I needed to expand my studio. And then, of course, there were a lot of cases where I would want to get something now and said, hey, that Guitar Center got that 12 months, 24 months, 18 months, whatever the little promotion was on that card, no interest financing. And I would make a plan and I'd say, okay, cool. I got 18 months. I need to pay this off in 16 months. So whatever the final price is, I'm gonna divide that by 16. If I got 18 months, I'm gonna divide it by 16. And then we're gonna pay that off in that time frame. And I would have a goal, and then we would start to get it cracking. We would start to get it cracking. So that's how I got a lot of gear too. I remember I bought like my MPC 2500 like that. I bought my Digi 003 like that. So a combination of those things with the retailers. But yeah, those promotional plans, thank God. they came through for sure. They came through. Obscure Streets, another true sound creator. Salute to you, fam. Appreciate you. Rocky Shipley says keyboards always turned off or not plugged in. Then the salesman asks you need help. Yeah, talking about pet peeves. That's a pet peeve. Like, yeah, I need help. I came here to listen to the keyboard. I wanted to play with the keyboard. It's not hooked up. Oh well, and then you get all the excuses. Like, come on, man. Petrometer says that's because store stock systems are always out of date. They usually update every 24 hours. Even Walmart and Target has this problem. For sure. But I also think it's a strategy thing as far as like what they carry, right? I think what they carry is a problem as well, and just the advice and just the strategy around how to keep them relevant in the space. It makes it adds up. It's a cumulative effect. Um, let's see here. Big C, 316. What's going on with you? You said, have I shopped at Sam Ash? Yes, sir. Yeah, we talked about that. I used to have a Sam Ash right down the street from where I lived, and yeah, it was sad days when they left. They left our area before they actually shut down completely. So yeah, it was bad, really bad. Black CB says, I used to enjoy going to Radio Shack. Radio Shack, listen, now we going old, and this ain't got nothing to do with like necessarily music. Radio Shack more so because Radio Shack had the realistic brand stuff and all that. But another shop that I miss besides Radio Shack is Circuit City. That was another joint. We can talk about that at a later time, but all of that stuff matters because a place like a Circuit City that had music, not music creation equipment, but music listening equipment. That's important too. When we don't have a strong music listening culture, then like the whole like music creation culture is going to suffer as well. And in a time now where people aren't investing in a lot of home entertainment systems, it creates some problems here for the rewards and the motivation to purchase music equipment, because nobody's listening. Then what are we making music for? That's the reality of it. If nobody prioritizes listening to music, then eventually people will stop prioritizing making music and spending money on that. It should not feel like it is a zero-sum game because you have invested in something that is not going to return an investment for you. So that's what it is. I'm gonna take one more question and then we'll wrap up today's episode. I appreciate y'all for hanging out as always. Great times. We're gonna talk about we're gonna talk more in the after show. Don't get it twisted. This is just, we're gonna wrap up this episode because I want to keep the episodes a little bit more consumable and short. So I appreciate y'all for hanging out. Ron Worth says, speaking of gear, is that a Hydrasynth behind you? If so, how do you like it? Does it have warmness and weight to it? Its sound, or is it cold, digital sounding? Thanks. A couple episodes ago on this podcast, I made a video talking about my exact thoughts on that, and also did a walkthrough in my in my membership. If you want to hear like some of the sounds and whatnot from it, we did a whole like a couple hours of like just sound walkthroughs and exploration and whatnot in my membership. Recommend you become a member because we got a lot of live streams and things that we're going to be doing, and also my Gear Hunter episodes will be a part of the membership. But just to keep you informed on where we're at with that, for me and my taste, the Hydrasynth is not it. I know a lot of guys that I respect that do sound design that love it, but it's not up to my standard for what I like. It is, for me, more on the digital side than it is on the analog warm side. And there's nothing wrong with the digital sound. Don't misinterpret what I'm saying. I just think the tonality of it, for me, even when you start to mess with sound design, it still has not the right tone for me. It is a viable source, but it's not my ideal source, and it's not the first thing that I would pick up for the type of music that I'm doing. And I have to remember, and I talked about this in like I said, a couple episodes ago, we talked about selling your gear when it doesn't fit your needs. The style of music you make and the styles of music that you're interested in exploring also impact your approach, but also your taste in what gear you need for your own studio. And you need to be very clear about that when you're buying something. Just because someone else likes it, you need to check and make sure that that person has tastes that are aligned with your taste as far as music is concerned and what they're doing. Otherwise, you might buy something based on someone else's own taste that don't align with yours, and you won't be as happy with it in the end. Because we don't all like the same thing. We don't all want to do the same thing ultimately. So to answer your question, no, Hydrasynth not for me. I plan on selling it, so that's what it is. But just because it don't work for me doesn't mean it won't work for you, because I don't know what style of music you do at all. So, man, great show, great energy. I love the feedback. I love the chat. The chat is always a great vibe. This was a great episode, and I appreciate y'all for joining. It is time for us to begin our transition over to the after show, which is on Twitch. The after show will start at 6 p.m. Central Time. So make sure that y'all go over there. Upbeat Media is going to put a link in the chat room, and make sure you go over there. And I believe there should be already a link in the video description. Make sure you go over there and get ready for the after show. The after show will be a vibe. As I mentioned, we talk a little bit more loose and freely, and we listen to music and discuss other stuff. So it's a great vibe, great time. Make sure that you come over there. If you had other questions that you wanted to talk about regarding this, or if you had questions about gear and other stuff you wanted to talk about, let's do that in the after show. So I appreciate y'all, man. It's a blessing as always. I'm feeling, like I said, about 95%. I'm still been messing with a little bit of a cough, but I pray that that's gone and I'm completely healed. And I appreciate the prayers and the blessings from y'all, man. I appreciate the support as always. Amazing time, man. Let's get this cracking. I just want to tell y'all, man, y'all stay good out there. Make sure y'all head over to the after show. But if you can't make it to the after show, I appreciate y'all for joining and watching this as always. And until next time, I just want to tell y'all peace and God bless.